All right, guys. Yep.
What's going on, guys?
Welcome back. Week number 2 of the Birds Breakdown. And here we are again at the beautiful Tonic Seafood and Steakhouse here in downtown Wilmington. And I'm your host, the Philly Sports Guy. And I got my man, El Parchero here. And I tell you, let's say I give a quick shout out to all our sponsors. Tonic Seafood and Steak. They were voted the best of Delaware and Diner's Choice in 2020. Legal Shield, the power of a law firm in the palm of your hand. Wi-Fi, gluten-free, awesome internet, and King Creative. Every story has an audience. Let the Blue Lion tell yours. And I tell you, we got a lot to talk about. Again. I tell you, I'm not sure exactly what's happening. I'll move this water out of the way so everybody can see us over there. I'm not sure exactly what's going on with the Eagles, but it's been a little challenging to watch that game yesterday. And there's a lot of blame to go around. Lots of blame. Tell me what your thoughts were.
Well, I mean, I didn't expect to sit here 0-2 talking about like panic mode with the Eagles, right? But there was a lot of things wrong with the Eagles. I mean, I can't pinpoint it on one thing, but obviously, like we're going to discuss today, there's multiple different things, and I really don't think the Rams were as good as the scoreline said it was. So, of course, we're going to dive all into it today. But I'm glad to be back here. This is week 2. Not to be corny, but we're not canceled yet, Philly Sports Guy.
No. I think everybody loved it. We got a few guys here coming to watch. And if you guys want to come down, I tell you, they got some fantastic food here. You have to see the seafood towers that they bring out. And I tell you, that's awesome. So definitely come out and check us out here live. It's good to watch us on Facebook and YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. We're getting all over the place. TikTok, everything. We're hitting it all over the place. We're getting everything going. So definitely you want to come out here and check us out live. I'm working on getting some special guests to come in too, which is going to make it a lot more fun and interesting. But I tell you, I kept saying yesterday that this is preseason. So they didn't have a preseason, and I know that these games count. So because I got a lot of flack from people saying, okay, well, these games are for real, so they're going to count in the record, and that's fine. But this is still like a preseason. And one thing that I watched yesterday, besides the fact that the defense was just about horrible, they were just about horrible. That the Rams, every big play they had was pulled from the back of the playbook. These were all like gadget type plays. And if you remember towards the end of last year, that's what was beating the Eagles a lot, were the gadget plays. Right. So, and that defense has still got the same type of problems about that. That is definitely a Schwartz issue. That's a Schwartz problem. He better figure that out, because I know that his defense was out of position a lot of the time. And then I have to blame a little bit on Howie, because I know it's mostly Schwartz that actually chooses it. But Howie, those linebackers are horrible. Horrible. You cannot have a tight end get out and get as open as he was. Gary was out of position all game long, and it was just bad. It was just bad, and it was hard to watch.
No, you're absolutely right. You nailed it. Everything that you're talking about with the defense. And it's crazy because in week 1 they looked really solid, right? Like they did a solid job. Obviously, the Eagles turning the ball over close to giving the Washington team a lot of good field position throughout the game. And then in week 2, what I saw Philly Sports Guy was the play call by McVay and the Rams, right? So you talked about it, the gadget plays, the ending rounds, and a lot of the stuff that they were doing was trying to neutralize the Eagles pass rush. So they were going away from the Eagles pass rush. So we're talking you saw a lot of tosses, a lot of stretches, some screen plays and stuff like that. Things to try to get that pass rush out of the way. And this wide 9, and it's funny because I was watching it with my girlfriend's dad, and he's like, I'm sick and tired of this wide 9. And we all have bad memories of the wide 9, in the past decade with the Eagles. And once I saw in the second half, the defensive line, not have those big gaps like you do have in a wide 9, that's when you got some pressure. And that's when you rattled Jared Goff. And that's when we started to get a little bit of momentum. But of course, other things did happen. But man, these linebackers, oh my God.
It's just, first off, other than Gary, what are the other guys' names? I don't even know. And if you're going to play that way, I would rather you put safeties in them positions. Get somebody with some speed and do it that way, rather than continually try to fit, a triangle into a circle. You know what I mean? That's what they're doing here because these guys are horrible. They're just bad. I mean, it's like I don't even know. Like I know that they put no stock in the linebacker position, and that becomes a problem. You have to have somebody playing there. I mean, think about the good defenses when you had Trotter, when you had Seth Joyner. Those were guys actually knew how to run the defense. When you have your safety, and he's still relearning the position again. And I'm a big fan and a huge proponent of the Green Goblin. I love that guy, but I feel like he switched numbers and then he lost a step or something. You know what I mean?
But let me ask you something, because this is something we do talk about a lot. But when was the last time we had a Pro Bowl, a top 5, top 10 linebacker?
Trotter.
Trotter
was the last one.
Too long. Like listen. Jerry's been great on run defense. He's had some nice plays here and there.
We did have a couple guys in 2017. 2017, we had the mix of the right guys, and then we lost them all, and then they all disappeared.
Yeah. You mean Bradham and all, of course. But, like I'm talking about, like the Luke Kuechly's. Like I feel like this city has never had that elite type of linebacker, and I feel like it would really help. And I did, sports radio. You hear about like where's Davion Taylor, and the fact that he's not out there showing me he's not ready to play yet, and that, my friend, is also an issue as well.
Yep. I mean, that goes back to drafting. It's like in fact, I was talking to somebody here a little earlier, and they had mentioned, well, don't feel too bad that I'm a Jets fan. And I said, truth of the matter is, it's like we were talking about 2017, and we're losing all those guys. And all those guys, I know how he gets the blame because he is still here. But truth of the matter is that were all Joe Douglas's choices. And when now that he's gone, he's the one. He doesn't get any of the blame of that. But that's why we only have 2 of those guys that are left anymore. So, but that doesn't mean that the draft's got any better since then. I mean, the only draft pick that I know of that was worthwhile right now is Goddard. And everybody else, like you get a couple. I tell you what, Jalen Reagor is showing his stuff here. He's actually getting his a little bit. But what happened? Where Deshaun Jackson in the first half? What happened to him? He wasn't even there. He wasn't in the game plan for the first half. And I don't understand. The longest play that we had was 25 yards. How is it that we're not going down and we're doing the long bombs? We were supposed to have speed. That was supposed to be our thing. And now we don't have any speed. We're not stretching the field the way we are. It was nice to have Sanders come back.
Yeah.
He was 5 yards short of 100, and he did have that fumble. He did have that fumble in the very beginning. And that's, but that was, they gave him the rock right away again. It was like, okay, we had to make sure that we were back out there again, giving it to him. And that was important to make sure that he was, back in the game plan. You didn't want him starting to stutter step or do anything like that. And that was really important. But,
well, I mean, I want to ask you something too, because I really had the intentions of asking you this here on my way here. So with Howie Roseman, I know he's done great jobs as far as a negotiator. Like, obviously, we all remember how he got Carson Wentz in his town, and that was absolutely fabulous work by him. But as a talent evaluator, as a drafter, Howie really has worried me. And to the fact that we still, on this team, we have guys like Corey Clement. Like, these are guys who obviously helped us in the past. But I think at some point you got to learn how to move on. Jason Peters still on this team, Vinny Curry on this team. We need to learn how to develop players. And I'm looking at teams like Green Bay, like Pittsburgh, who consistently are developing young talent, and they're helping their teams. Why can't we do that here in Philly Sports Guy? Why can't we do that?
And you know what? I hear exactly what you're saying. I'm not sure. I find it's a little bit of coaching. I feel like it's also a little bit that they are overthinking these drafts. I was never a big draft guy. I was one of those guys that kind of just let them choose because I don't watch college football. I'm Eagles guy. Where we live in Philly, there ain't much college. Yeah, Temple gets a little exciting when they actually are up, doing well. But other than that, it's I'm Eagles. I'm straight Eagles. So I don't really know enough about college football to be able to say that unless you hear about the one major quarterback or whatever going on from there. So you got to trust what's going on there. Truth of the matter is that I have a little difficult time that why is it that we're having so many issues? Why can't we seem to draft somebody and them work out right away? Jalen Reagor is a good prime example. He's the rookie. coming right in, didn't play.
They called slack for that draft pick too.
Yeah, well, they caught slack because they didn't trade up for CeeDee Lamb, and I'll talk about him in a little while. And not that I ever want to tell you, you know how I feel about that name. I'm not going to say it because you know how I respond every time I say it. But I tell you, that's where they kind of messed up. They didn't get ahead of Dallas. Dallas sucks. They didn't get ahead of them. They didn't get ahead of them to take him, and that's and they lost out on that. But Jalen Reagor has not been an issue, so he's been doing what he's supposed to do. And I'd say he got put out to dry a couple of times yesterday.
Well, do you want to talk about the elephant in the room, Carson Wentz?
Well, there's some blame to go there. At first, I was thinking that Carson Wentz, that first interception where we didn't score the touchdown there, and that we were moving the ball really well, and he tried to thread a needle. And then I went back to look at that play, and I saw the guy that was open on the right-hand side and was a little upset about the fact that he made the wrong read and tried to squeeze it in there to a guy who's not very reliable, and gave the ball. I tell you, the defender made a fantastic play on that ball.
That was a nice grab.
He did go dive like 4 yards in the air to make that play. But the fact that it wasn't as crisp of a throw, that it was a little floaty, and you know what? It's funny because I'm wearing Jaws, giving my Jaws in them, but I almost came in here wearing a McNabb jersey because in the first half, that's who I thought was their quarterback in the team. So and it's like he was throwing it at his ground, and then he was floating them over their heads. There was something going on. He got a little bit better. They were moving the ball really well. I wish they stuck more to the run game, because that's that thing, and it's and I mean, there's a couple of plays that I want to go over, but so I believe he is some blame here, and he definitely has to play better. Like I said, this is where I feel, I know it's not, guys, but I feel this is preseason, and we have 4 games to get it together. This was not a must-win situation. You know what I mean? We could go 0-4 and still wind up 10-6. So I'm not concerned about that. I think that once the ball gets rolling, that the ball's going to roll and roll right. So I'm not afraid. I am not afraid of what's going on right now. However, we definitely have to right the ship. It's that's what's really going on. We have to make sure that we start to put the ball in the right direction. So, and let's go for Inside the Numbers. And Inside the Numbers is brought to you by Legal Shield, the power of a law firm in the palm of your hand. So I went down, I said, let's discuss some of the numbers of the game. And the first thing that stuck out to me was Carson Wentz, 26 for 43, 242 yards, 2 interceptions, a 56.5 QB rating. That's really, out of everything else, that's the big oops. That's the big issue. You know what I mean? The 2 interceptions, big deal. You know what I mean? That's a big deal, because ultimately, when you start to go back, because I have actually down here right underneath this, turnovers again, points after the turnovers, they scored 10 points, but really it was 17 points, because it wasn't that they scored it, they took away 7 from us. So it was a 17-point swing on the turnovers. And that, again, cannot happen. We cannot do it that way.
You can't give out free points like
that. And
those
half of fields, you cannot give 40 yards for them to go. They have to get a full field.
And it's one thing to do it at Haskins, but to do it for golf is going to kill you all day on that.
And I didn't think that the Rams were so great. No, again, like I said, they were pulling it from the back of the playbook. They were doing all these gadget plays, and that's what really won it for them. Now, where we outcoached? Yes, I will say McVay outcoached Schwartz. And BG, I mean, again, he had that 1 sack, but he was out of position a lot of the time. So Barnett, who's he? Does he play for us? Oh, that's right. He's a defensive tackle. I did see him in on 1 tackle. I think
since that fumble recovery in the Super Bowl, Barnett's been nowhere, absolutely nowhere.
Yep.
And it's so upsetting too, because again, that's another draft pick of ours that we haven't really seen flourish. But listen, I want to get to Carson Wentz real quick, because I have been a Carson Wentz guy since day one. I don't think I celebrated harder, maybe except for the Super Bowl. I would never celebrate harder than I did when we drafted Carson Wentz, and I believe that we made the right decision drafting him. And gladly the Rams took Jared Goff. I'm glad they did that. But yesterday, obviously, he lost the duel against Jared Goff, and that's going to be the whole mantra of the rest of their careers: Goff versus Wentz. Who won that draft? And unfortunately, yesterday, the Rams look better, but obviously it's still early. It's still early. Let's all relax. But like you said, you nailed it. Carson Wentz. In the first two games, he has been inaccurate a lot. In the first game, it wasn't as much, but in the second game, you can really see it. The throwing over the receivers. There was that one play, it's like a third down, and he like threw it like way over Zach Ertz's head, and I'm just wondering like, where is this coming from? Like, where is this the aggression coming from? In year 5, we're in year 5. This isn't year 2 or this is year 5, and we're seeing some of these fundamental issues with Carson Wentz, who's supposed to be not playing out of better form, especially what we saw last year, 4 in a row, and have 2 interceptions. Now, his second interception, I'm not going to give it on him too much because I personally believe that ball hit the ground. It was too inconclusive to turnover, but whatever. That first one, like you said. Come on, man! Forcing that in that tight window,
and especially when you look at the play as a whole, there was somebody else open. You didn't really get to see it on TV. I initially said that I need to look at the film to kind of see what happened there, and I'm not sure if it was Goddard that was open, but he definitely had like a step on his guy, or it was Ertz. I'm not sure, but like I said, there was somebody. It was a much better throw to make than trying to squeeze it in to Arcega-Whiteside. You know what I mean? It's like again, I'm not. He has not caught up. What's he call it? One pass in these first 2 weeks. They don't even want to throw it to him anymore. Like they don't even want to throw it to him. So I find that was really difficult. And again, when he led Jalen Reagor out to dry twice, and that was poor, just poor.
You know what I honestly saw? I saw a quarterback that was rattled. And there was a couple times too, especially in the second half, I noticed it more where there was a receiver open and then you saw it in the replay and he didn't hit that receiver. And you're wondering like what's he looking at? What's going on? Like the offensive line didn't play terribly yesterday. Like I'm not going to put that loss on the O-line like we did against Washington.
Oh, God, I have it down on my list here. That's in the only bright spot. They had 3 hurries, no sacks. Donald only had 1 tackle, and that was an assist.
We were sitting here. We were talking about we were worried that what Donald was going to do to this offensive line and the Carson Wentz because of the way he looked against Dallas, but he didn't really kill you.
Here's another thing that I noticed about Carson Wentz is that when he is in the pocket, he has a hard time actually making the correct throw. But when he rolls out and he does all those types of things, he's I don't understand why we're not doing it either. When he rolls out, he's on point. He's actually leading the guys right. He actually throws a good ball. I've watched the spiral when he is in the pocket, and it's a little floaty. It's a lame duck a little bit. And it's when you're having those types of problems, because ultimately, had he been a little bit more crisp on that pass to Arcega-Whiteside, it would have made it in. There would have been no chance for that defender to make it. But because it was a little floaty, he wound up getting it. He wasn't able to thread a needle because he didn't throw it in there the way I know it. And this is a mechanics thing. That becomes a mechanic thing. So that makes me believe that our quarterback whisperer coach, Doug Peterson, it's time for him to turn the hearing aid up on Carson Wentz and make sure that maybe it's no longer a whisper. Maybe it's a talking to, or even getting like a Philly sports guy loud. You know what I mean? To say, hey, Luke, we know you're a better quarterback. We know. We've seen it. We've watched it happen. It's time for you to show much better than what you're doing. And that's going to be important moving forward, because, I mean, do you think Cincinnati's going to lay down? Cincinnati, I think, is salivating because they know that there's a possibility that they could beat us. Yep, exactly.
Yeah. So, but like you said, like especially when you're talking about the running game starting to click with Miles Sanders, why not use those rollout plays? Like roll out, get those tight ends out in the flats like that. Like that, those are different things you got to try to do, and I hope to see in next week against the Cincinnati Bengals, man.
Well, and you did notice, remember we talked about last week that they did no screens? I think that was a Sanders thing. I think because they did a couple of screens. All of a sudden, it was like, oh, look at that. The screen came back. I mean, there was a couple of wide receiver screens that got thrown down by his feet. You know what I mean? That's what made me think of McNabb. You know what I mean? But short of that, I mean, they went back to the screen a little bit, and they moved the ball pretty well.
Austin Town was also pretty effective before he got hurt.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was really solid. But listen, you can clearly tell. You get Miles Sanders open in an open field, you can do something. You can definitely do something for sure.
Absolutely. And then the last thing I have on inside the number was, where was the defense? We could talk all we want about the offense, but that was not the problem. The offense moved the ball, and I expected us. I mean, we didn't score enough points because then we had to try to do extra things at the end. And of course, that last interception it wasn't going to matter because what are we going to do? We're going to try to pull an onside kick. I'll get to that in a little while. But here you go. Here's the numbers for the Rams. 191 yards rushing. You know when the last time that we gave up like 191 yards rushing was like 2015. I mean, it was ridiculous that we let up that many.
Huh? The David Johnson game?
I thought it was against them guys down south. Where he ran all over us that one game. That was that last game where I think he had just about 190 yards himself. Zeke. But but I'm not even going to stop there because that's not even the bad thing. The 267 yards passing, 30 first downs, 7 out of 12 on third down. Now the Eagles were also 7 out of 12 on third down. So both of us were moving the ball, but could not get off the field. And they went 1 for 1 on fourth down. And the defense that was called on that fourth down play was absolutely ridiculous. How is it? I knew that they were going on a quarterback sneak. I knew it because it was wide open. How do you not? How do you not do that? Like, it was amazing. I'm like, really? There's nobody. They had the wide 9 set up. They didn't have any linebackers inside. He went 3 yards. There was nothing. There was nothing to stop him. And that was terrible. A terrible play call by Schwartz on fourth down. I mean, that would have changed all the momentum. But nope, didn't do it. Couldn't get off the field. And the one other kicker, 4 for 5 in the red zone. They're 4 for 5 in the red zone. And that fifth one, actually, they made a good stop at the right time. You know what I mean? Like, hey, you're not getting in the end zone right now. They wound up kicking a field goal, and then we went back out and scored a touchdown after that. So we were actually stopping them a little bit. And, then they came back and scored another touchdown. It was very frustrating game to watch. I felt like that we had plenty of chances to stop them, and we couldn't get off the field. And, and this was Schwartz. Lots of Schwartz blame here. Yeah,
I mean, this is what happens when you play against a good offense, and we'll see what happens because I feel like next week we'll get like between Washington and between LA. But yeah, like you said, Schwartz is too many blunders by this defense on Sunday.
And I'm not sure. So, and the hard part about it is, how do we fix these problems? So obviously, we're not going to be able to pick a linebacker up out of the trash heap. There's not one out there right now. They're going to try to make a trade. I mean, it's possible. I mean, that you could try to do something with the team who is lacking a tight end, and you maybe need to shake up. You might need to do a shake up, something that's really going to turn some heads around. Like, whoa, maybe we got an issue going on. Maybe we better step it up, or things are going to happen. And
I'll tell you what, if we go 0-4, that might very well happen.
Well, if we go 0-4, we got different problems to worry about. Like I said, because truth of the matter is, if we go 0-3, it's very likely we're going to go 0-4 because we have the 49ers afterwards. So, and going out to San Francisco is never going to be easy at any stretch. Going across the country, playing against a team that was played in the Super Bowl last year, it's not going to be fun if we have to do that.
Let me ask something too, because this is what obviously, when Carson doesn't play well, he gets a lot of the blame. But I need to ask you, are you giving up on him?
No, absolutely not. I'm not. I've gotten a lot of the, hey, we got rid of the wrong quarterback. Yeah. We did all that. No, we didn't. No, we didn't. I am still a Wentz wagon guy. I believe that he is going to turn it around, and he shows those signs of brilliance sometimes. You know what I mean? It's just I don't know if it's in his own head that this is a mental thing, or if this is something a little bit more involved that he's uh, trying to do way too much. And it's not.
Simple it down, man.
Yeah,
Simple it
exactly.
down.
It's like actually, it's not so difficult. You had all day yesterday in the pocket, all day, and it's just not what I am. It's like I get it. Like you wanted to try to force something, or you tried to make something happen this way, or you floated it a little too much. I think that he's getting into his own head.
Yeah.
I think that it's starting to show a little bit, and because of that, it's causing him to do things that make your mechanics off. And that's your issue, and that's his issue. I don't believe that we need to get rid of him. I don't think that Hurts is the answer.
Yeah,
You know what I
a
mean?
lot of that too.
Jalen Hurts is definitely not the answer. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's going to just exasperate all of the other issues that we have. I think that he's got to just calm down. He's got to do what he does best, and start to move the football, start to lead the team. And that's where I feel like that there's been a little bit of a loss from last year, those 4 games and such like that. Once he got hurt in the playoffs, and that had that situation occur, I I think that again, I felt that in 2018, after the Super Bowl, when he came out in week 3, he was trying to win the Super Bowl with every pass. And there's a little bit of that going on right now too. And you can't hate the heart the guy's got. He wants to win. He's so dying to win. And in the process of that, I think he just gets over anxious. He tries to, feather it too much. He tries to do too much, and he's missing it. He's not so crazy off. He's just a little off. That's why I'm saying this is preseason stuff. This is preseason type of things that you would fix during those games, and we didn't have them this year. So that's why I keep saying that this is still a preseason type of thing. The Rams played a preseason offense with all the gadget plays that they did. It was all gadget plays.
But the issue is like you just said, we don't have a preseason, and a lot of teams are going through what the Eagles are going through as far as the preseason goes. So I really trust and believe Wentz can get out of this funk and turn it around, but we don't have a lot of time, so we need to figure this out sooner rather than later.
Right, absolutely, because we cannot go in like everybody keeps saying that next week could be a cakewalk, and that's not true. That is absolutely not true. This is a professional football team that gets paid to play, just like all our guys get paid to play. So to think that they're just going to lay down and die, and like I said, I can imagine that Joe Burrows is sort of licking his lips a little bit because one,
he's not scared either.
No. I mean, I watched the game on Thursday. You had no choice to watch. I mean, I have it written down here, and we'll talk about him in a little bit. But he threw 61 passes on Thursday against Cleveland. 61 passes, most ever by a rookie. And I'm going to get to all of his other numbers later. But I tell you, when we start to talk about him, and he's really their team right now.
Yeah.
He is absolutely their team. And it's not going to be as simple a cakewalk as we think. We're going to have to keep up on the points. And as of right now, we've got averaging 18 points a game. I tell you, the rest of the NFL is like scoring ridiculous numbers, and we haven't gotten above 20 yet. And that's going to come into play. It's going to come into play.
Yeah, especially like we've seen this offense score a lot of points in the past, and not even scored 20 points yet.
Yep. And that's why I'm saying that makes me believe that there's something that's off. And they can get it right. They can right this ship. You know what I mean? And it could be the Bengals is the team to do it. I said last night as well that doesn't it always seem that our season doesn't start until we play the Giants?
We need a Giants trip.
I tell you, I mean, let's think about it. In 2017, our season started the moment that we kicked that field goal against the Giants in week 2 and went crazy after that. Last season, we didn't start doing anything until we played the Giants. And then we won the next 4 games and made it to the playoffs. So it's like, it's so ridiculous that I say it like that, because we play the Giants this year on Thursday night, and they couldn't have it on my birthday because we don't have birthday games on Tuesdays. Well, unless you're the Eagles back 12 years ago. But anyways,
Why would you bring that up?
but anyways, since they can't have it on a Tuesday, they had a game on Sunday and a game on Thursday. So I got 2 games, going on for me. And we got the Eagles Thursday night against the Giants on October 22nd. So, and that's when I feel like our season's really going to start, but they got to get some wins ahead of time. We can't go 0-win forever until we get to that game. You know what I mean? We have to be able to show some stuff, and we got to start next week.
Yeah.
We got to start next week.
I'll definitely happen.
So, all right. We're going to do an Around the Horn. And this one's brought to you by Wi-Fly, serving Wilmington. Only $55 a month for internet service. Wi-Fly. Gluten-free, awesome internet. And I only like to do the important games. I know that there's a lot more games than we go over, but Bears 17, the Giants 13.
Bears are 2-0.
The Bears are 2-0. Now, they have played Sister Mary the Blind and Sister Mary the Poor, and that's what happens sometimes. They actually.
The other story, Saquon out for the year.
Yep,
that's
out
brutal.
for the year, and that's
good for us.
Well, and I tell you, that's the problem with the Giants. They only have him. That quarterback is Danny Dimes ain't worth 2 cents.
Also, too, they have not been able to draft an offensive lineman in over a decade.
And they drafted 2 in the first round last year. That's 2 in the first round, and still, PU. And that's a shame. It's a shame, but that's okay because it's the Giants, and I love playing the Giants because, like I said, our season starts when we play the Giants. The next game on that list was Pack 42, Lions 21. And I tell you, I have it written down here. I had to put it in parentheses. The Packers have scored 85 points. Do you think that this guy, and it's the Aaron show up there. That's Aaron.
Aaron Jones,
I tell you, it's the Aaron show. And he has got a big chip on his shoulder about, trying to say, oh, you're going to draft a quarterback?
And draft the running back, too, because they drafted A.J. Dillon. And you're seeing both these players stepping it up, saying, hey, you made the wrong choice.
Right.
You should have drafted another receiver.
Exactly. So now that's, but that's okay. They're scoring 85 points in 2 games. I mean, obviously that leads the NFL right now. They are going over and above.
We'll talk about it in a second, but I think this MVP race is going to get fun this
It
year.
is. Because it's impossible to keep it up at 40 points a game, but they're going to try. So as of right now, they're 2-0 in that department. The Tampa Bay Brady's. Brady wins his first game with his new team against the Carolina Walking Dead. And it's 31-17 there. Actually, he had a halfway decent game yesterday. I mean, Carolina, I think, is just, they are on the clock. I think that they have a very strong possibility of going 1-15 or 0-16. So, and I
honestly hope so. Because I'm a Matt Rule guy, obviously Temple.
Yep.
They gave us the best Temple football I've ever seen in my life. And I hope that they do tank and get a good draft pick and can continue building a team. Because I do think Matt Rule can be an NFL coach, but it's going to take some time.
Right. And I think he's still a little questionable about the quarterback. I know that they got him in there, but
that's not his guy.
Yeah, I think that's part of the reason why they're going to play their best to try to get, like I said, I think they're on the clock already. Cardinals 30, the team out of Washington 15.
They're not going undefeated.
Well, no, definitely. Washington was not going to go undefeated, but the Cardinals might. The Cardinals, I tell you, again, I had to look at. He had another 9 receptions. I don't know why Houston got rid of him. I can't, but he had another 9 receptions, 68 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, so only 22 receptions. Only 22 receptions in the first 2 games. I think that maybe Houston did a little bit of a mistake with that, and I expect that they ain't stopping.
No.
They ain't stopping. They are going to be going full bore, and that's going to be the tough division. I mean, as of right now, out of
All four of those teams can make the playoffs. Well, realistically, they could.
absolutely, especially when you
That's
have
crazy.
the seventh, you have that seventh spot. All four teams could make it because right now, out of all those teams, they're 7-1 as a division. 7-1 as a division. You know, that's pretty amazing stuff. I mean, that's not so simple to do.
I'm glad we're in the NFC East.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because in retrospect, we are 2-6. That's PU too, but that's bad. So, anyways, and then of course the Seattle Seahawks beat the Patriots 35-30. 35-30. And I tell you, Russell Wilson, again, I didn't think he had the best game. Like, I still think he's got better game to play. Like, he's still trying to figure it out a little bit. But that team is going to be scary. That whole West is going to be scary. And of course, they play the East this year. So
I will say this because there was one play that looked good for Seattle, DK Metcalf, and every time I think of him, I have to think
of Ortega Whiteside.
Yeah, I have to.
How do you not? How do you not? DK, especially that last catch, and I'm waving goodbye to us all.
And also the irony too, the Seahawks beat the Patriots on a goal line stance. Remember the Super Bowl?
Yep.
The irony.
Yeah, and now see, he knows a little bit because I didn't watch the game. You know what I mean? I really was. I just got.
They were in the same play. Cam Newton QB sneak or from the shotgun QB draw, and the Seahawks knew that was coming because that's what they're going to do in the goal line, and they stopped it.
Right. Well, and first, Cam is not the Cam of old. He is definitely he is old now. That's the problem with Cam. So he's going to have a couple of seasons there. Belichick's going to retire, and that's going to be the end of the Patriots for a little while.
I'm not here for this next one. Oh my God.
So, and I wasn't really even going to do nothing. I was going to just let it slide and let anybody know. But I was going to say there was one more game that's kind of important to us. The Dallas Cowboys came back to beat, and we all saw it because that's the game that they showed afterwards. You know, Matt Ryan. I tell you, I guess that coach, that coach has got to go over there because I tell you, Matt Ryan scored 39 points, and you should win the game if you scored 39 points. I will say this because beyond everything else, I'm such a homer, and I hate Dallas. Dallas sucks. But that was a fantastic onside kick. That was an amazing onside kick. Just the way that he did it, the way it looked so practiced and rehearsed, the fact that they went out. So, and everybody keeps saying that how come Atlanta didn't go in there? So Atlanta got chipped a little bit. They went out. Those guys, first four guys went out and chipped all the Atlanta guys. So they were a little disoriented, and then they couldn't find the ball for a second. And that's how Dallas had their three guys, and it would look like a little rugby scrum watching that ball just go over. Once it got over the 10-yard mark, and you could tell like it was just a very well-rehearsed onside kick. Probably one of the best ones I've seen since they've switched this rule around, where you can't go running and stuff like that.
This is crazy. Like Atlanta, like the Falcons are just so notorious for blowing leads because obviously
since the Super Bowl. Yeah, that's so they should have won that game. They did not, and of course we get to hear all those stinking cockroach Cowboy fans that come out of the woodwork saying, "Oh yeah, we're going to win the division because we happen to be tied with the team from Washington."
For the games.
So yeah, again, I'm not scared. I'm not scared even a little bit. So, but yeah, that's it. All those AFC games, who cares? Yeah. And there's going to be a good game tonight. Say the Saints and the Raiders. I smell an upset.
Oh,
I smell an upset. But that's beside the point. We'll wait for that in a little bit. And then, of course, we're at our looking ahead. And this is brought to us by King Creative. Want your story to roar? Go to the Blue Lion. King Creative. Every story has an audience. And we mentioned him earlier. The Bengals or the Burrowses. The Burrowses, because he is the team right now. He is the guy that's going to make the biggest difference on that team. He threw 61 passes, last week on Thursday against Cleveland, and actually stood in there, took the hits, was not afraid to stay in the pocket, rolled out. So Here's his line. I wrote down his line for the entire season up to this point. Obviously, it's only 2 games, but 60 for 97 for a 61.9 passer rating or percentage rating, 509 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, an 81.5 passer rating. So, and I said the 81.5 passer rating because you heard me earlier say 56.5 rating from Carson Wentz. He's right now at somewhere around 67 passer rating for his one of the worst for a starting quarterback in the NFL right now. So he's not at the worst spot, but he is definitely one of the worst. And you got Joe Burrows, who's trying to do everything he can for this Cincinnati franchise to try to get them a win. So he does have 3 fumbles. So they've only lost 1, but he's can put the ball on the ground. We can definitely take advantage of those types of things. We got to get in. That line is not so strong. He's got a quick release. He's able to see the open man fast. They like to rely on some people going across the middle, and he gets that ball out quick. So that's going to be an important thing to stop. But you know what our biggest problem is on defense? Right in the middle of the defense where the linebackers are. So that's why I'm saying I almost would rather us be a nickel all the time and have the extra cornerbacks out there. You know what? Who would have been really good right now playing linebacker? Sidney Jones. That's just my thought. But we cut him. No, not Malcolm Jenkins. Malcolm Jenkins is, it was time for Malcolm Jenkins to go. I wish that the Green Goblin was stepping up a little bit more. But, that's going to come. Yeah. Don't worry. The Green Goblin is going to come through for us, and you're going to start to see him make some big plays. Last season, the defense was Swiss cheese until he came back. He's just getting his feeling back here in the new thing, and back in a new position, an old new position, because that's how he got drafted. So, and then he got switched to a cornerback. So he's going to be good. We're going to be fine. Don't worry about that.
I will say, because obviously, when you go up against a rookie quarterback, and we've clearly seen, despite what he showed us in college, obviously in college he was, a superstar. He was fearless, I feel like, in LSU. In his first year, you're clearly seeing, he's just trying to get the hang of the NFL. It's a much quicker game. Playing in the AFC North is tough, and playing against 2 tough defenses like the Chargers and the Browns, that's going to be tough as well. So the defense needs to get in his face. You need to rattle him if we want an opportunity to win this game. I feel like if you can get in his face, you can get in that backfield, we're going to have an opportunity to win this game. And the offense, Miles Sanders and Boston Scott need to be the focal point of this offense. Kareem Hunt.
You must have read my notes.
Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb played fantastic for the Browns last week. And I think that Miles Sanders and Boston Scott, if hopefully he's fully healthy to play in this game, can do exactly what those two did.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree. Because like I said, he must have read my notes because I have it here. The defense is porous. Very, very porous. Chargers rushed for 155 yards and a touchdown. Cleveland rushed for 215 yards and 3 touchdowns. So they almost had 2 guys. 2 guys go for 100 yards, and 1 guy only ran it 10 times. You know what I mean? So they definitely are going to let up running. Yeah. So, and that's where the truth of the matter is that was the one thing that Cleveland did. Well, Cleveland kept scoring touchdowns, so it didn't really matter. But the time of possession. We are not going to need to throw the ball a lot. No. This is going to be a time where you get yourselves together, you get yourselves right as an offense, you start doing a lot more screen passes if you're going to throw the ball, and then you maybe stretch the field. I have a feeling that they're going to come out and stretch the field because, like I said, Deshaun Jackson was non-existent in the first half, and I wanted to see him more in the second half. It's just for some reason or another, he
can torch him off too.
Yeah, I mean, because I think that you're going to see him right out of the gate. They're going to stretch the field and maybe go with that long bomb, and then after that, they're going to run the rest of the day.
I will say because there's something that concerns me about this game because we're talking about the Bengals in 2020. They are a team that clearly is rebuilding, right? They're looking towards the future, but there's young players and young, hungry players. That's a concern to me because I haven't seen an Eagles team that's had their head on right in 2 games thus far. This could be a trap game, even though we're all thinking okay, the Eagles are finally going to turn up, but I'm still a little bit concerned, but I still think we can find a way to win, but it's not going to be a pretty game. By any means, it's not going to be a pretty game.
No, I agree with you on that. And so I listened when I start my morning, I don't get out of my car until I hear, Doug Peterson talk on WIP, and I had to sit in my car an extra 20 minutes because they were having a meeting, and he was late for the phone call. He normally calls right in at 8 o'clock. He's done by 8:15, but I had to sit and wait till 8:20 when he showed up because they were in a meeting and he wasn't done yet. So I can imagine he was a little hot, in that meeting, and he didn't want to lose his focus to make a phone call to call in to get beat up because that's what happens. You're getting beat up when you're making those phone calls to WIP. And there were a few things that he said to me that I want to see. He said that the players were angry about their performance over the last two games. So I want to see how that equates next because I am not going to sit here. You don't tell me that they're angry and then they go out again and they can't seem to show up. They can't seem to put it together. I want them to prove it to me now. Now you got to show me. Now you got to show me because I'm not waiting around. This is a game we should win, not only on paper with every other stat in the world. We should win this game. We better win this game.
How about just play a full 4 quarters? Like the Washington game, obviously the first 2 quarters, great, right?
Most
Week,
of them.
yeah,
Most of
them. Last week or yesterday, second quarter was good. Maybe a third or a half of the third quarter was good. Let's play a full 4 quarters of football, and we will win. We will flat out win.
I agree. I absolutely agree. And it's like I said, it's not that hard to do. It's not that hard to do. I know that we're getting a little aged, but I firmly believe that they can turn this around. Like I said, this is preseason. They're getting their legs underneath them. Pretty soon we're going to have it all together. And like I said, when this ball gets rolling, it's going to roll really well. But we have to get the ball rolling. We cannot let it just die. You know what I mean? And that's the problem. We cannot. As if we lose this game, we could. You may have a big. Yeah, you might have a serious problem in the locker room. And that's we started to talk about that last year. Did Doug lose the locker room? We go 0-3 and lose to the Bengals that won 2 games in the last 2 years. It seems that it could be really a bad situation in that locker room.
I do not want to believe that the magic's over.
No.
I do not want to believe that.
No, this team is still too good. There's too much talent for them not to be able to put it together, and that's going to be the important thing.
Yes,
that's going to be. But I tell you what, the one thing I do want to mention, especially because it's my man here, that the one team that did win yesterday was the other football team. The Philadelphia Union took care of business in that crappy stadium that they had to play up in New York. Trust me, if you know anything about that soccer stadium, they're playing I feel like they're playing in Yankee Stadium, which it's so ridiculous because it's this really ridiculously small field. And they took care of business, beating Montreal 4-1. And I think what did they retake first place? Did Columbus lose? Did I see?
I think it's still tied.
For first place. So,
but it was crazy because my day yesterday was obviously the Eagles doing what they did, right? And then I'm watching the Phillies, right? Bryce Harper goes out in seventh with back stiff, which I'm hearing he's playing right now. I can't see his play, but I was really worried, and we lost. We could have swept the Blue Jays, and we lost. And then I'm just hoping the Union can just get it done, and they got it done. And it salvaged the Sunday just a little bit.
A little bit. That's it. We do have one playoff team in Philly right now. Maybe two. I was
get it done.
You saw me hanging with the Pandemics on Saturday. They were fantastic. It was a whole big conglomeration. I got up there for a half a second, just did my thing. I was starting to chant and stuff like that. I was all painted up in my red and blue, doing my thing. They do some fantastic work there. And I got a couple of videos with them. I didn't want to start to bring them out until after football because I know the Eagles are king, and I didn't want it to get lost in the mix. But those guys have raised over $15,000 for the Phillies charities, and that's an amazing thing right there. Them Pandemics guys, they're really going out there and just taking care of it. So we're going to be out there more for them. And when the Phillies make the playoffs, you heard me say when?
Right, October, baby.
You hear me say when? As long as they don't, our starting pitching just goes through the entire games. We're just going to leave them out there. If they start getting shelled, it won't matter. It's still better than our bullpen. But that's what I'm talking about. So anyways, guys, I want to thank all of our sponsors, Tonic Seafood and Steak, Legal Shield, Y-Fly, and King Creative. Thank you very much, guys. that hopefully we got some better news next week. I'm ready. I'm ready to talk about some good stuff. I feel like
the show's been great, but we obviously want to talk about wins.
That's
right?
exactly true. And it's like, and we can talk all day long about the losses. You know what I mean? It's hard. It's actually harder to talk about wins and losses, but I want to try. You know what I mean? I definitely
weird. Yeah.
I want to feel that, because that is the one thing I didn't mention. Yesterday was the home opener, and we couldn't even get near the stadium. Couldn't even get near. I tried. They quarantined off the stadium, a square mile around the stadium, barricades. Couldn't get down. Couldn't get down there. And I just wanted to stand there. I had my boom box. I was going to stand there and do my say anything moment. Like I'm like John Cusack out there trying to find my girlfriend.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
Exactly.
Fly.
Exactly. Just doing my whole say anything moment. And I couldn't even get there. So that was really upsetting. It definitely didn't feel like a home opener, but they did have the boo button. They did have the boo button for the crowd noise. So
it just feels weird, because like I just want to see, like, the Dean of Penn, screaming,
he was like only like 5 seats away from me when he did that.
Oh my God,
yeah, that's why. Like, it was like literally he was in my section, and I heard him yell all that. I'm like, wow, that was the guy. That's that. I know exactly who that is. And then he said it was the Dean of Penn. He's like, I'm sorry for what I said, but I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry for what I said. I'm sorry for how I said it. Something like that. That was classic Philadelphia. He's like, hey, I'm Philly, and I'm here, and I'm loud and proud, and I'm going to say what I got on my mind, because I tell you what, the Eagles at that time deserved it. Yeah. They deserved it. So, but I think it was actually the refs. The refs deserved it. That was the Detroit game when they pulled off Sanders' head. So, but anyways, guys, thanks again for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Sure, thank you.
And again, follow us next week. And you'll see us. Yeah, they wanted to make sure that you follow the Philly Sports Guy, El Parcero Philly. Make sure to check us out. We got all the different social medias. So find us: Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok. We got it all. We're doing it all. So definitely make sure you're following us, and we'll see you again next week. Go Birds.
Go Birds.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. And live video there.
So we got 42. Oh, this one never started.
It never started?
No.
Hmm.